today.
Well, it's kind of nice to be at episode number 10 on this one, so I figured we'd go for something kind of worthy of the number 10 spot. Silver Surfer on Nintendo. This is, I never really had much experience with this game when I was a kid. I didn't actually hear about it until watching the AVGN episode, I guess back a couple of years ago now. And, based off of his take on it, although comedic, he makes it out to be a pretty unforgiving game. And I definitely will say the rules of how this game works, they're a little severe, but, there are a lot of other games that are shooters like this, side-scroller shooters, that have the same kind of rules. So I don't think it's necessarily, fair to criticize this one overall. This is kind of like a made in the genre of other games like it. So, it's not too bad. Definitely, I don't think it's a good representation of Silver Surfer, which is, I think, the bigger issue that a lot of people have with this game. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more detail and different stuff put in for a character of his stature. But, you get what you get. Either way, though, this is, I think, after playing it, this is actually a good game to me. I actually really like this game. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that. I don't think it's a bad game at all. I think it's really kind of like a gem. I'm surprised I never heard of it when I was a kid. It has, even though it is pretty difficult, I think the difficulty is not like cheap to where it's unplayable. It definitely is playable. It's just one of those games you got to get really good at and take your time and maybe do a little bit of memorization, but it isn't anything impossible. I definitely play some games that they're not meant to be beat because of the way they were designed, and this in no way is like that. Just to give you an idea too, I consider myself to be an average gamer, so there's some guys I've seen who are awesome at video games. They beat anything they get their hands on, and I'm not one of those people. But I'm average, and I spent probably about 10 hours or so playing this game in total to get to the point where I could actually beat it. So that gives you an idea. It's like I said, it's not gonna take weeks and weeks and months to play this game in order to finish it off. So don't let that intimidate you. But I will say some criteria you're gonna need to take this game out is you're absolutely gonna have to get a turbo controller of some sort. Obviously, it wasn't designed where the game designer said you have to, but with this kind of shooting that you need to do consistently, just firing the whole game because there's that many enemies on the screen, to do it without it would probably kill your hand. I'm sure it's possible. I'm sure there's some people out there who could do it. I've actually seen speed runs speed runs of people doing this game in pacifist mode where they never shoot anything other than the boss, which is a little crazy, and obviously they wouldn't need a turbo controller for that. But really, this game, I think, in some of the best times that I've seen on it, from if you never died and made it through from beginning to end, you're looking in the 25 to 35 minute range if you didn't die, which is a long time to be sitting there just, clanking away at the damn button to fire all the enemies, which I don't think that's reasonable. Your hand would just die. So my hand hurt enough just to keep holding the fire button and everything, because this game's pretty intense. So I can't imagine trying to do it without it. So definitely get a turbo controller. As a lot of people know, Nintendo did have a lot of turbo controllers, some that were licensed by Nintendo, some that weren't. The ones that I always used when I was a kid for turbo was the Max, or if I really needed it, the NES Advantage. I tried using the Max in this game. It didn't really work too well, so I switched over to the Advantage, which is probably one of the first times I've ever used that controller on any game that I've ever really played. It's kind of nice to have, but I never really use it. I always use my Dogbone controller. But I used it because it's got a really nice turbo function, and actually, it kind of maybe rethink the way what controllers I use for certain games, because this is a lot like it's a lot like Pac-Man and some other ones, whereas you kind of need those tight controls where it is an analog stick and it helps you out to just kind of make soft or small movements up, down, left, and right, since you can't touch anything. And it actually, I think, really was beneficial to have that controller rather than trying to do it with the regular ones, just because I think you can get that fluid movement on it. So like I said, I may play some more games that are like this. Well, anyways, I've been talking over this. Anyways, this is the first boss here. You can take him out pretty easy. This stage that we're playing here, to me, is probably the easiest out of all of them. Only reason why I started with this was I was changing up the order in this particular run. So normally I start on the hardest stage first, but I decided to do this one, this the easiest one first on this run. Anyways, kind of give you an idea of, as we're rolling film on this, you got all these bosses right here. You're gonna have to play each one of them and finish them off. You've got 3 different sections, usually the first one being like a side-scrolling one like you're seeing right here, and then sometimes on the second stages they go to like a top-down type perspective, and then usually for the boss they go back to this type of format, side-scrolling. So that's pretty much what you're going to be looking at for this. Even the last boss sticks to the same format as that. Now, this is not a game that has unlimited continues. So you can't just keep plugging away. I'm not entirely sure how they do the continues. I don't think it's a determined number. I don't know if it's based off of points or whatnot. Sometimes I've had like 3, sometimes it's like 5. I don't really know how to do the continues, but you do get a few of them, so that will help you out. There are checkpoints in not only for the sections of the levels that you're in, but also certain points during the level, maybe 2 to 3 checkpoints per section, which help out, especially if you get especially if you like make it this far and you die. You don't have to start it all the way from the beginning. But I will say, at the same time, it does help you out. There are a lot of times where it's probably you might want to go back and play it from the very, very beginning. Reason being is, besides having a turbo controller to take out your enemies, in order to make this game significantly easier and not to where you're just hanging on by a thread for the whole game, you absolutely have to take advantage of all the power-ups that you can possibly get. Now this game has a few different power-ups, and once you get those power-ups, it seems to balance the game out much more than if you never got them at all. Which is kind of funny that AVGN never even mentioned any of that crap whenever he did his review, and maybe if he had gotten some of those it might not have been hard, but maybe that wasn't the point. But anyways, you essentially the power-ups beef up your weapon, of course, your projectile weapons. And when I go back to the screen, I'll show you here. There's 2 different types that you get for building up that weapon, or I guess 2 different types. There's the F little symbols you'll see every once in a while when you kill certain enemies. You'll see in the bottom right there's like silver orbs there. If you get that meter all the way filled, you'll get the highest power up for your projectiles. And that's really what you want, because it helps take out bosses easier, it helps take out certain enemies easier. It's just something you're going to want to have. And additionally, on top of that, the other one you'll have here, you'll see the 2 orbs that are on the left and the right of your board right there. You can get those through the level. You only get maybe like one or 2 every section, depending on which stage you're on and everything. But if you get those, they really is big help. As you can see right here, they split out almost like the spread on Contra. And having this weapon, especially if you're powered up all the way like I'm right now, I mean, this is what's going to save your ass, because there are a lot of enemies are flying everywhere on this level, just from left to the right. They're circling around, doing all kinds of patterns, and to have the best firing power you can to take them out makes it a lot easier. What you just saw there was actually the S, which is another kind of symbol you'll see if you shoot certain enemies down. that S will give you an extra life. So if you see those, try to grab them because they will help you out. And so anyways, that's what the Fs do. And then there's another one that looks like a B that you'll see every once in a while. And funny about this is I didn't actually know what they were until after I beat this game. And I probably should have looked it up and maybe read the instruction manual or whatever. My loss. The B, as you can see down there below the player 2, below there, that is, you see it, there's 3 of them right there. Those are the 3 Bs that I've collected. You start off with 1 initially on every life, but if you get extras, they'll kind of build up. Essentially what those are they're apparently bombs, and they'll clear the whole stage. So if you get in a tight spot or you're looking like someone's about to hit you and you can't do anything about it, you can hit the select button, and that will actually, you use one of those and take out everybody on the screen with the exception of bosses. So yeah, that could have been a lifesaver. I wish I had known about that doing these. I definitely wouldn't have just stacked them up where I've got like the 3 of them right there. So, oh well, whatever. But that's what you can use for those. Just hit select and use them. This is my also going on this. That was my first death in running this. This is not a perfect run. I definitely think it is possible to do it, even for the average gamer. Of course, there's people who have speed run perfect runs on this, pacifist mode, all kinds of crap. So I mean, but that's just about every game that there is. Somebody can do that on. But I think it's possible that the average gamer can beat this game and even probably do it with a no death type scenario. But that's not really kind of the purpose of this show. Like I said, I'm an average gamer and I like to show people and I like to have a challenge, but it would have probably taken me quite some time to get good enough and memorize all these levels to where I could do a no death run. And this is a pretty long game to do that with. You gotta have a little bit of luck when you're doing that shit too. Other games I've done in the past, I've done some no death runs, but they've usually been shorter. This one is I think it's about 25-35 minutes. So to make it all the way through and not get hit once on anything, make any mistakes, would be really tough. It could be done, but I think it would take you a while to kind of practice up. It's not going to happen within your second or third time playing it. So I'm not too interested in necessarily doing that. Like I said, that's not the purpose of the show. So I just went ahead. But I did a pretty good run on this game. Anyways, I think I made it through all the levels. The levels with the, I guess, the sub-bosses or whatever the hell you call them, in 2 lives. And then I made it to the last guy. He has 3 sections there. I think I lost about 12 lives when I continued and then beat him, so it wasn't too bad. And that was actually the first time I've ever beat him, so I didn't really have a lot of practice on that level before, so that's probably why I got wiped pretty hard. But anyways, what section we're on here? This is a pretty mid-range level as far as the difficulty. I usually like to do this one towards the end, kind of like the reptile one that we had earlier, because it makes it a little easier as a cakewalk as far as finishing up your getting closer to the last boss. The way I usually play this game is I'll do the fire stage guy. I can't remember what his name is first, because him and the I can't remember the other ghoul-looking asshole. Their stages seem to have more random enemies where you kind of know where they're going to come out, but every time it's kind of random. Sometimes they come out here, sometimes they don't, and it makes it difficult because since you don't really know when they're coming out, it's hard to time or dodge them. You just kind of have to hope that this one particular time they're not going to not going to come out and mess you up. So I like to do those first, just so for particularly to the run, if I fuck up there, then I could start all over again. I don't want to do all the easy guys and then get to the hard guy and then I get stuck there. Again, you can see this top down. We got the full power up on this. Makes it a lot easier. This guy is really this stage is pretty, like I was saying, medium difficulty, not too bad. but you're probably gonna have to play it once or twice to know like which sections to go to, whether you go the path, like the left path or the right path, which is kind of like most games. And there's every level kind of has one. But this one definitely you want to stick to the right, as you saw me. It's a little bit tougher because your board's pretty big and it makes the fitting through those little tight crevices tough. But if you go left, I think you can still make it, but it's harder because there's guys that come from the right and kill you. Again, this section right here would be pretty tough without having your full power up and the two extra shooting orbs there. In this stage in particular, having the one on the left and the right is a must, because that way you don't have to get in the direct line of fire in order to kill these assholes, because a lot of these guys shoot projectiles straight out, and you either gotta take those out, which you can by shooting their projectile and then blowing it up before it hits you, or kind of doing that whole shoot a couple and dodge the projectile that's coming at you. Having them at an angle makes it easier, so you can kind of get right off to like their left or their right, and they miss you but you keep hitting them. So very important to get those. And I think we're on the third section here. Again, you can see why the turbo controller is necessary. There's creating more power-up things. I think it just gives you bonus points since you can't go up any more levels on your weapon. Again, too, I will say, oh, here it is. Here's the last section. He's pretty easy. If you've got the full power-up, you can kind of just stay in one spot and kill the enemies that are being thrown at you and not have to worry about it. If you have a lower power-up, you're going to have to do that. Shoot a couple, guy comes at you, you dodge him, you know, go back, shoot a couple, do that whole routine. I guess the story behind this is you're collecting pieces of this machine and retrieving them from these guys who stole them. You can see we got 3 down on the 4th one. He's another easier stage, probably the second easiest. As you can see, I kind of, like I was saying earlier, I did these in reverse order. Again, having the 3 charged up orbs is really what makes this level a lot more tolerable. If you didn't have that, it would be tough. I think you can actually change the direction in this mode of where those orbs are shooting, although I never really messed with it. And I would say too, even though there is a function to do that, both I think in this stage and I know for certain in the other one, the side-scrolling one, because you can turn that orb to either shoot down or back. Even though that's kind of a cool function, and I think it was a good idea to do that, there's really no section that I know of that you have to do that. You can just as easily kind of dodge that situation and never have to use backfire. So I don't, even though it was an option that the program's put in, which I think was cool, I don't think it was utilized. I think I would have made, it would have been something cool to do, I think, in this game to make you actually switch switch that thing back behind you in order to make it through certain parts. But then again, since you don't always have it, maybe that's why, the idea behind why they didn't require it. Again, having the side shoots, or being able to shoot at an angle here, it makes that section a lot easier. Completed that section. We're going to go to section 2 now. Not sure, or maybe 3. I don't remember exactly where we're at. So section 2. Another thing to remember with this game that will kind of help you out is most of the enemies will not, if you, for instance, where that robot is, if you pass them up and go forward in front of them, they usually don't come back and they come back. If they're to the left and you've already passed them, they usually don't come back to the right to try to take you out. There's a few items or a few enemies that will, but they don't usually make great distances. So that will kind of, knowing that in this game can kind of help you out, because there's certain sections where you want to take all the enemies out so you don't have to worry about them randomly coming back and hitting you. But then again, there's sometimes where you're like, well, if you just kind of book it to the right real quick, they're never going to make it back far enough to the right to get you. So, and that's part of the part of why this game is fun, because there's different ways to do it. You can take everybody on the screen, or you can play more defensive and find the places where their patterns where they can't hit you. Like I did, I could have taken those other enemies, those robots up there, but there was no purpose in me getting in danger to take those out, so I just kind of skipped them. Now, on that other hand, though, too, if you need power-ups, or you want to collect more of those bomb things, some sections you may want to take the risk to kill other enemies so you can get those. It just depends on what you need. Like right there, there's an S, which is another extra life. I didn't really need any. I got a lot of them. I got 7. And sometimes when you go up like that, you with those 2 enemies coming down and coming from the top and the bottom, you can come down and they can kill you. You can use a life. So I didn't need any life, so I didn't want to take the risk. Looks like we're making it onto section 3. That section's pretty easy. Like I said, if you have full power up, you can just kind of wade into these guys real quick and take them out. Other than maybe the reptile guy or whatever, this may be one of the other easy ones. Essentially, when you start out, you can see it starts from top to the bottom. There's these guns that fire off. You want to take at least the top 2 out, so that you have a safe space to dodge those shots, even if you don't have the extra power up or you're just down to 1 orb. That way, you can just kind of do that whole, shoot a few, dodge, shoot a few, dodge. If you don't take out like one of the ones on the top or the bottom, you're not going to have room to dodge, and they're just going to get you every time. Alright, now this is like I was saying, Fire Lord, okay, that's his name. This is what I consider to be the hardest level. This is the one AVGN did a lot of stuff on, talking about the hands coming out. There's 2 sections here. This first one we just showed here, you want to take the hands out. That way you don't get stuck around them. Even at an angle, they give you enough room to do it. You just gotta carefully maneuver through. There's another section coming up where you don't really have a lot of room to take it out, and I don't think that was the idea, was to actually shoot them and kill them. The idea was more to dodge them. And right here too, you can see left and right. If you shoot all those guys, you get the power up and a bomb. And like I said, you might want to store your bombs up for later. This is the section right here. You don't necessarily have to kill them. You can just kind of dodge them. I inadvertently killed them because of how wide that spread shot is on there. But if you just had a single shot and this was the first level you started on, you're not going to really be able to do it. So just play it safe and just time it so you can go around them. All the enemies on this stage are very predictable. Once you play it a couple times, there's none of them that are random. If you go to the left side here and take out the hands, there is a extra life up there at the top right there. And that completes that section. Now, it may have looked like that was an easy section for me to take out. Without having the full power up and without having the 2 orbs, it's pretty tough. So, even though it may have looked easy, it's not that easy. I think this is where I die, and it was really something real stupid. I fucked up right here. I didn't time that right. That's an easy time move, and I just wasn't paying attention. That's what happens. You know, there's parts that are real tough, and then you make it look easy, and then something easy comes along, and then you fuck up. So, yeah, just time your way through these. Now here, what I was saying, why this is one of the tougher levels, other than that last stage, which is very narrow corridors, this is tough because these damn pumpkins are so fucking random, and sometimes in that section, there's no real safe spot, and they'll just throw one right at you, and you don't have time to move, and you're dead. I got through that one. Luckily, Lady Luck was on my side this time, and they didn't throw me any bad pumpkins that I couldn't dodge. But sometimes it's just real cheap. They just come right up, right underneath you, and they just take you out. 2 as well, just remember when you're going through a lot of fire comes down from the ceilings there. Make sure you know where to time those. If you make your way down to the right like I just did, and as soon as the fire goes away, hit back to the left, you can get this orb. And in this section, you're really going to want to have it, because you've got these little time things and you gotta maneuver yourself through the lava. And in this other third one, there's pumpkins that come up, which makes it even harder. So, and again, where it is you get luck. Sometimes the pumpkins will, if you wait a while, they'll come up and then you can shoot them, because if you shoot them once, I don't think they come up again. Sometimes you wait all the way as long as you can, and then you finally have to go before you run out of space in there. They could come up underneath you and kill you. There's really no way around it. So, like I said, it's kind of cheap. There's another extra life. Now here's where, kind of like unlike in the beginning, this one can be a little bit difficult to get through. Now here, when you get to this section, stay up towards the top, because there's going to be pumpkins that are going to randomly pop out through the bottom here. The only time I would recommend coming down to get anyone would be to shoot these green statues. That way they're not dripping the lava out, because there are times you're going to go underneath them, like here. And you see that pumpkin right there. If you were too low, or there was another one right there, they'd fuck you up. Again, don't hit that pot right there. You actually have to know to maneuver underneath it. And remember, like you saw that pumpkin come up, stay to the top as much as you can. And same here. When you clear this, just stay all the way to the top. They can't hit you. None of them can. Now you can go back to staying in the middle and shooting, because there'll be just enemies coming at you here. This guy has a pattern very similar to the other stages. Nothing too different. It's a shoot and dodge type situation. Alright. Again, having the full power up here helps a lot. If you're down to single shot, it's tough. There are some sections here where it's, like I said, I wish you could go back to the beginning and play the whole level from the start. That way you can get the power-ups and everything. If you get this far and you're stuck with one projectile, it's unforgiving. With this section, don't worry about moving around and dodging. Just stay where I'm at in the middle. As long as you got full power-up or at least 2 of the shots, just keep firing at them. Same thing with here. The enemy boss is right there on the right. As you see, you have to get over to the right and maneuver up and shoot him. Just stay here and keep firing at his damn little minions there, because eventually they'll run out, as they did right now, and then you can just go over at your leisure and kill them, and it makes it a lot easier. If you try to do it all at once, you might be taking some unnecessary risks. So there we go, he's done. On to the next part, the last boss in the last section that has the 3 stages. You get a little more story here as well. I don't know much about Silver Surfer. Read a little bit. I never was a big fan, so I don't really know what's going on here. I don't know if this is a good representation of the comics or what. He looks a little funky, I'll give you that, but you know, I'm not a big Silver Surfer fan, so. Blah 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 blah. Just let me go over and get this guy. Now, this is truly, these last 3 levels, probably the toughest. They throw a combination of all the stuff that you hated about the other levels all into one. But some, as we're seeing here, as you say, this is still the same run. I'm going to die here probably in the next minute and a half. And from there, I'm just going to cut the footage out, because it's an extra 10 minutes of footage of me just getting my ass handed to me until I got through these parts. So, but what I'm ended up doing here is I went back and did a run, a perfect run of the last section here. That way I can kind of talk over it and tell you about some little things that are going to help you out here. But again, you want to have full power-ups. You want to conserve your bombs, because there's some sections later. And this, like I said, these levels throw everything at you. Random guys who come from the right and go to the left, guys that come from the bottom and up, guys that come real quick at you, like right at you from the right. Just about everything you hate. And there you go. I fucked up right there, hit my head, and I died. So I think what I ended up doing, is I think I died 10 times and used 1 continue to beat this guy right here, the final boss, which isn't bad. So I only died a few times, like maybe a dozen times overall to beat this game. So that was the left run. Now this is a like I said, this is my perfect run, starting off with no power-ups or nothing. And so you can see it's very important to kill some key enemies here. That way you can get the some bombs or power-ups. So you had one back there. There's the second one right there. Watch the discs that come up. As you can see here, it's better sometimes to hide right there in this section rather than to try to come out and shoot them, because they do throw a lot of guys. There's 2 more guys that come up. You might want to wait to the left until they come up. Otherwise, they might surprise you from the bottom. You pretty much stay right here in the middle and just keep firing. If you don't have the power-ups, it's going to make it extremely tough, because sometimes in this straight section you won't have enough, or you won't be able to defend yourself properly. Right there is something you need. You have to get that right there. There's your second orb. I think that's the only time in these 3 levels that you get one of those kind of power-ups, so you don't want to fuck it up. Right here, just kind of stay shooting forward. Don't mind coming down, because sometimes they'll come straight at you. This section, just keep firing like we're doing right here. They'll come at you and wait for it and then go straight. You see now we're kind of hitting our stride. We almost got our thing fully powered up and we've got the 2-shot. Here's coming up, I think, one of the hardest sections, our hardest parts in this first section. Just avoid all those fucking things, don't worry about going up. There's the last power up, so you're fully powered up. There'll be a couple more. Now in this section, these plate-looking dickheads are going to come up from the bottom randomly, kind of like the pumpkins did in the Fire Lord stage. So take them out, try to dodge them, do everything you can. But it's definitely, what makes it tough is stay to the left, because you saw those ghosts that come out. If you get too far to the right trying to dodge those, they're just going to come straight out and kill you. This boss is just like every other boss. Easy, just keep firing straight at him, dodge his little ghosts, and you're done. But yeah, in that last section, make sure you're as far to the left as you can get. That way those other guys don't come from the right and kill you. Alright, we're in this section. Important thing to do, if you still got all your power-ups, is to get the 3rd little orb so you can have the 3 shots. This is, like I said, this incorporates another tough part from from one of the other sections where it's really tight turns because of the length of your board. As you can see right here, be very careful maneuvering your way around here, and when you can, try to take out those bubbles or those things that are creating the bubbles or whatever, because those can get in your way. I always go on the right path here. I don't think there's definitely like a trap or anything going left, but I think the right's a bit easier. Again, in this section, I usually just go straight up the middle. I don't know if there's necessarily any benefit to going right or left. Alright, here's where your maneuvering skills are going to have to be top-notch to kind of get through these spikes here. Keep shooting there, because you also have to take these bubble machines out. Don't try to dodge them or get around them, just go ahead and take them out. It makes this part a lot easier. This is one of the first tough sections to get through right there. Well, I guess that was the last. I was thinking there was one more. Alright, remember, take those things out, because those bubble things will keep shooting up because as you wait for the boss to come out. This lobster or whatever the fuck it... I mean, it looks like a lobster, I don't know. He's kind of a pain in the ass because you really never know what pattern he's going to do. The best time to hit him, though, is what I just did there. When he finally decides to come out and tries to, I guess, grab you or whatever, he won't move. So if you have the side shot, you can just stand right next to him and pummel him. If he was to survive that particular encounter, he would have some bubbles appear on the screen, and then you would have to take those out, and he'd go back to randomly moving around the screen. So try to take him out before he does that. Again, this level is nothing too special about it. If you have full power-ups, just keep firing. That's all I can say. If you're down to 1 shot because you had to use or you died, This is going to be a lot about memorization or dodging, because these guys are pretty powerful, and it's tough to take them out. Like, let's see those green ones. If you had a single shot, you would have been dead. They wouldn't have had enough to take them out. But here, right in this section, stick to the top, get your 2 power-ups right there. Luckily, though, I'd say the game's pretty generous in giving you power-ups in this last section, even if you were to die. That way it makes the boss a bit easier. Stay to the left in this section, because again, you'll see those green guys come up. If you go too far to the right, they'll take you out. These things are pretty easy. They're just another time. Just get the timing down on them. Look like dead elephants or zombie elephants or something. I don't know what the hell that is. We're almost done with this game here. We're gonna get to the final boss. I would definitely have to say I was disappointed by this boss. I thought they could have done something different. When I first got to him, I thought maybe this was a mini boss before the actual boss, and it's kind of surprised it turned out to be the real one. There's 2 ways you can do this. He's gonna only shoot either forward, down, or slightly up. He doesn't do any other directions other than that. Your projectiles, if they're powered up enough, can kill his. So if you just want to, if you're confident enough, you just want to stay straight on and just keep firing and not move, that might work. Or you can do what I'm doing there, is use your bottom one to kind of slightly skim. That way you're out of the direct line of fire. Luckily he walks back and forth left and right. When he's going, when he just went that direction, when he's walking right, he never does any surprise turns back. So you can just freely just sit there and keep firing right at him. He does do those little cluster fires, but that's not a big deal either. I don't know if the bombs would have helped you in this section, but again, I really didn't know about them, so. But just like all the other bosses, rinse and repeat. Just keep dodging and shooting them, and eventually he'll blow up, just like he did there. Congratulations, you have the last piece. We have beat Silver Surfer. I might have to say too, while we're looking at the credits here, this game has some outstanding music, and again, like I was saying earlier, I don't think it's an impossible game. I don't think it deserves to be called like a super difficult or like unbeatable, but I really like this game. I really do. I don't know if I could play it all the time, but I could definitely see myself every couple months getting it out and playing it some more, because it's hard enough for me that I know a good game when I'm like really dialed in, like fully focused on the game, and I get my eyes, I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. I'm just doing stuff on reaction and my hands are sweating. That's the kind of games that I like. That's to me the mark of a good game, when it's that intense. And that's what this game did for me, similar to Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Same scenario there. So I definitely think if you've got the game, get it out. It's not that difficult. Just take a little time. It's frustrating to get used to the fact that you can't touch anything and kind of figuring out how the game works, but it's really worth it. I would suggest to anybody who has this game to play it and master it and beat it. It's definitely an accomplishment. As you can see, there's not really much to the ending. It just says the end. They could have done a little more, but the music is great. It keeps you interested in the game. It keeps the pacing of it. It adds to the intensity of it. So this is Jason signing off, episode 10. I hope you enjoyed Silver Surfer. Like I said, I consider this to be a medium to difficult game. Not something impossible. So get it out and try it today, man.